A strong hold over current affairs is your way to succeed in the UPSC Civil Services examination. Brace yourself and get detailed coverage of relevant news both nationally and internationally. With the monthly current affairs revision program starting from 26th October at 5 p.m. Enroll today and elevate your current affairs knowledge with comprehensive coverage of current affairs compiled through relevant sources such as the Hindu Indian Express, Economic Times, PIB Yojana, and others. Expert support and personalized mentoring. Comprehensive assessment through MCQs and mains-oriented questions.
Hello and welcome to this edition of News Today. Without delay, let's have a look at the headlines first. Supreme Court issues pan-India guidelines to halt illegal demolition of private property. Supreme Court highlighted that Union has not implemented its commitment to tackle trafficking. Science and Technology Minister inaugurates Centenary celebrations of Bose-Einstein Statistics. Report on municipal finances released by Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India releases 2024 list of domestic systemically important banks. State of the Cryosphere 2024 Lost Ice Global Damage Report released. In a major move today, the Supreme Court of India issued pan-India guidelines aimed at halting the illegal demolition of private property. Citing the principle of separation of power, the court invoked its extraordinary powers under Article 142 to ensure protection for individuals across the country. However, it's important to note that these protections do not extend to encroachments on public land or unauthorized structures. Now let's understand why these guidelines were considered necessary. Illegal demolitions have raised concerns about violations of natural justice, due process, and the rule of law. Imagine a scenario where someone's home is demolished by the state based only on a mere accusation. This not only goes against due process but also infringes upon fundamental rights, including the right to shelter under Article 21. The Supreme Court's new guidelines are clear. First and foremost, prior notice is mandatory. A demolition notice should be served to the homeowner by registered post, with specific details about the nature of the unauthorized construction and the exact violations involved. In case where unauthorized construction is involved, a 15-day notice period must be provided to allow residents either to remove the unauthorized construction or arrange alternative accommodation. Furthermore, an opportunity for a personal hearing must be given to the accused by the designated authority, ensuring that their side is heard. To reinforce accountability, the court has also declared that officials found violating these orders will face personal liability. Additionally, the court emphasized the importance of transparency in the process. Demolitions must be videographed, and the recordings should be presented as evidence if the legality of the demolition is challenged. A detailed report on each demolition must also be submitted to the Municipal Commissioner. Now, let's briefly touch upon the principle that underscores these guidelines: the separation of power. French jurist Montesquieu defined this principle, stating that the three organs of the government, that is, legislative, executive, and judiciary, should work independently, and there should be no overlap between the powers of these organs. While the United States adheres to a strict model of this separation, India's approach is less rigid, as the executive is derived from the legislative branch. In summary, these new Supreme Court guidelines are a vital step toward ensuring accountability and protecting citizens' rights in case of private property demolition. In a critical move today, the Supreme Court noted that the Union government has yet to fully implement its commitments to combat trafficking, particularly sex trafficking, despite the commitments made in the 2015 landmark case, Prajwala versus Union of India. Now, what exactly were these commitments? First, the government pledged to establish an organized crime investigative agency, known as OCIA, dedicated to tackling trafficking. Additionally, the Ministry of Women and Child Development was supposed to constitute a committee to prepare a comprehensive legislation dealing with the subject of trafficking. This legislation was intended to cover all aspects, including prevention, pre- and post-rescue of victims, and their rehabilitation. However, these steps remain incomplete. But that's not all. The Supreme Court also pointed out legislative inaction on the matter. Although the Trafficking of Persons Prevention, Protection and Rehabilitation Bill 2018 was presented in the Lok Sabha, it lapsed without further progress. The court further highlighted the limitations of the 2019 amendment to the NIA Act, which empowered the National Investigation Agency to investigate trafficking cases but fell short on provisions for victim protection or rehabilitation. To put things in perspective, let's take a look at the status of trafficking in India. According to the National Crime Records Bureau or NCRB, over 10,000 trafficking cases were reported between 2018 and 2022, with sex trafficking as one of the most prevalent forms. Disturbingly, it's considered the third largest source of profit for organized crime, following arms and drug trafficking. Now let's discuss the steps that have been taken to combat this issue. Legally, we have the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956, and constitutionally, Article 23 of the Indian Constitution prohibits human trafficking. Other efforts include the Ministry of Home Affairs, which runs an anti-trafficking unit to help states improve their enforcement efforts. Additionally, India has signed a Memorandum of Understanding or MOUs with countries like Bangladesh to combat cross-border trafficking and ratified the UN Protocol under the UN Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime, focusing on protecting women and children. The Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita or BNS also addresses human trafficking, including trafficking for prostitution. It's clear that while some legal and constitutional frameworks are in place, the Supreme Court has underscored the need for swift, concrete action to address this growing issue. Moving ahead, the Science and Technology Minister has inaugurated the Centenary celebrations of the revolutionary Bose-Einstein Statistics, a groundbreaking concept that has shaped the course of quantum theory. Back in 1924, Indian physicist Satyendra Nath Bose proposed a new approach to understanding the behavior of particles, particularly photons, based on quantum theory. This marked the beginning of his collaboration with Albert Einstein, which led to the formulation of the Bose-Einstein Statistics. So what exactly are Bose-Einstein Statistics? In simple terms, it describes how a collection of non-interacting and indistinguishable particles can occupy discrete energy states when at thermodynamic equilibrium. Essentially, it explains how particles distribute themselves across available energy states. Particles that follow this principle are known as bosons, a name that honors the work of Satyendra Nath Bose. Bosons are fundamental particles with integer values of spin, that's 0, 1, 2, and so on. Examples include the photon and gluon. Now, why is Bose-Einstein statistics so significant? Well, it helped usher in the first quantum revolution in the 20th century, paving the way for technologies we use every day, such as lasers, the transistor, magnetic resonance imaging or MRI, and semiconductors. But that's not all. The second quantum revolution is already in progress. Second revolution is defined by developments in technologies like quantum computing and quantum sensing, etc. And let's not forget one of the most fascinating discoveries, the Bose-Einstein condensate or BEC, the fifth state of the matter. BEC is formed when particles are cooled to temperatures near absolute zero, that's minus 273.15 degrees Celsius or 0 Kelvin. The centenary celebrations of Bose-Einstein statistics highlight not only the past achievements, but also the bright future of quantum technologies. This is a testament to how one groundbreaking idea can shape entire fields of science and revolutionize our world.
Moving on, the Reserve Bank of India or RBI has released a comprehensive report analyzing the finances of municipal corporations or MCs in India. The report highlights key challenges, opportunities, and suggests measures to improve the financial health of these local bodies. Let's first look at the key findings of the report. The most significant concern is the low revenue collection by municipal corporations. In 2023-24, MCs generated just 0.6% of GDP in revenue, which is far lower compared to the central government's 9.2% and state government's 14.6%. The stark difference highlights the struggle of local bodies to raise sufficient funds. Another major concern is the heavy reliance on government transfers. The report notes that grants from both the central and state governments have seen a rise in recent years, up by 24.9% from the central government and 20.4% from state governments in the 2022-23 period. However, this dependence still leaves many MCs financially vulnerable. The report also sheds light on increased municipal borrowings. Municipal borrowings have surged from 2,886 crores in 2019-20 to 13,364 crores in 2023-24, signaling a growing need for financial resources among MCs. However, there's also a concern about their ability to manage and repay these loans. In terms of municipal bonds, the report states that municipal bond issuance totals 4,204 crores, which is only 0.09% of corporate bonds in the market. A majority of these bonds are privately placed, indicating a lack of liquidity and investor interest in the municipal bond market. Now, let's discuss the challenges faced by municipal finances. According to the RBI, municipal revenue remains low compared to advanced economies. The municipal bond market remains underdeveloped, and local bodies face limited operational flexibility to manage their finances effectively. In light of these challenges, the report offers several recommendations to improve the financial health of municipal corporations. The report recommends reforms in property tax collection through the use of Geographic Information System or GIS mapping and rationalizing user charges to improve revenue generation. The RBI also suggests that the State Finance Commissions or SFCs should recommend timely and predictable state transfers to municipal corporations. Digitalization and the use of public-private partnerships or PPPs in areas like urban transport, waste management, and renewable energy could help improve the financial efficiency of MCs. The report encourages smaller municipal corporations to explore municipal bonds and green bonds as potential sources of funding. To enhance accountability, the adoption of best practices such as the National Municipal Accounting Manual is recommended. Moving on to the revenue sources of urban local bodies, the RBI report outlines several key components. Own sources of revenue, like tax revenue such as property tax and water benefit tax. Non-tax revenue, which includes user charges and developmental charges. Other receipts such as lease, rents, and sale of rubbish. Assigned shared revenue includes sources like entertainment tax, which is now subsumed under GST, except when levied by local bodies, and professional tax. Grants in aid include devolution from the central and state finance commissions, as well as grants under programs like Swachh Bharat Mission or SBM and Amrut. Municipal corporations also rely on loans from state and central governments and banks to fund their operations. In conclusion, while municipal corporations face significant financial challenges, the RBI report emphasizes the need for reforms and innovation to improve revenue generation, enhance cost efficiency, and boost financial transparency. Moving on, the Reserve Bank of India or RBI has released its 2024 list of domestic systemically important banks or D-SIBs. Once again, the list includes major financial institutions, State Bank of India, HDFC Bank, and ICICI Bank, all of which continue to hold their position as D-SIBs. So what exactly does it mean to be identified as a D-SIB? D-SIBs are considered systemically important due to several factors, including their size, cross-jurisdictional activities, complexity, and their lack of substitutes or interconnections with other institutions. In simple terms, these are banks that are too big to fail. If such a bank were to collapse, it would cause significant disruptions to essential banking services and in turn harm the broader economy. The identification of D-SIBs is based on the D-SIBs framework set by the RBI in 2014, which is aligned with the global standards outlined by the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, or BCBS. According to the framework, banks with a size that is either equal to or more than 2% of the country's GDP are considered for inclusion in the D-SIB list. Banks identified as D-SIBs are then categorized into 5 distinct buckets based on their risk profiles. These buckets are determined by the Additional Common Equity Tier 1 or CET1 requirement, which banks must maintain as a percentage of their risk-weighted assets or RWAs. Bucket 1 banks have to maintain lowest CET1 and Bucket 5 banks have to maintain the highest. In case a foreign bank having branch presence in India is a global systemically important bank, it has to maintain additional CET1 capital surcharge. Financial Stability Board or FSB releases the list of GSIBs. Let's break down the key terms for a moment. Risk-weighted assets or RWAs are used to determine the minimum amount of capital a bank must hold in relation to the risk profile of its lending activities and other assets. It is calculated by assigning different risk weights to different types of assets held by a bank. Meanwhile, Common Equity Tier 1 is a component of Tier 1 capital and comprises primarily of common stock held by a bank or other financial institutions. It is the highest quality of regulatory capital as it absorbs losses immediately when they occur. With these regulations in place, the goal is to reduce the risk of instability in the banking system, ensuring that D-SIBs maintain sufficient capital buffers to prevent large-scale disruptions. In our last news for the day, the State of the Cryosphere 2024 Lost Ice Global Damage Report has been released, highlighting alarming changes in the Earth's frozen regions. Coordinated by the International Cryosphere Climate Initiative, or ICCI, the report provides a comprehensive analysis of how rapid ice loss is impacting the global climate. Let's first understand what the cryosphere refers to. It includes areas of snow or ice on Earth subjected to temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius for at least part of the year. These regions include continental ice sheets, glaciers, ice caps, permafrost, etc. Some of the most notable examples are Greenland, Antarctica, and the Hindu Kush Himalayas. Now, let's look at the key findings of the report. The first major concern highlighted is the accelerated loss of ice sheets. The Greenland ice sheet, for instance, is currently losing 30 million tons of ice every hour. In fact, ice shelves in northern Greenland have lost 35% of their total volume since 1978. This rapid ice melt is contributing to rising sea levels. The report reveals that the rate of global sea level rise has doubled in the past 30 years. If current trends continue, it is expected to increase to 6.5 millimeters per year by 2050. In addition to this, the report points to the loss of glaciers in various regions. Recently, Venezuela became the latest country to lose its final glaciers, joining Slovenia, which was the first to experience such a loss in modern times. But how does the melting cryosphere impact the global climate? The report explains that the loss of ice is weakening the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or AMOC, and slowing down the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, or ACC, both of which play a crucial role in global ocean circulation. Furthermore, the thawing of permafrost is another major concern. Permafrost thawing refers to the melting of ice trapped in the ground, leaving behind water and soil. This process can worsen local environmental damage and trigger global feedbacks. The decrease in the reflective ability of sea ice also means that more sunlight is absorbed, further warming both the Arctic and Antarctic regions. This results in greater carbon dioxide emissions and contributes to the depletion of the ozone layer. Another alarming impact of melting ice is the increasing risk of glacial lake outburst floods, which could lead to catastrophic flooding in affected regions. But it's not all doom and gloom. The report also highlights several initiatives aimed at protecting the cryosphere. The United Nations General Assembly has approved the period from 2025 to 2034 as a decade of action for cryospheric sciences. This initiative aims to focus global attention on preserving the cryosphere and studying its rapid changes. The World Meteorological Organization has also adopted 4 high-level ambitions to protect the cryosphere and combat the ongoing damage. In India, the government has launched the National Mission for Sustaining Himalayan Ecosystem, or NMSHE, which will assess the health of the Himalayan ecosystem, including its glaciers. As the report underscores, the cryosphere is a critical part of the Earth's climate system, and protecting it is vital for the future of our planet. In today's Place in News, we turn our focus to the Philippines with its capital, Manila. In a significant diplomatic milestone, India and the Philippines have unveiled a special logo marking 75 years of their bilateral ties. This marks over 7 decades of cooperation and friendship between the two nations. Now, let's take a look at the political features of the Philippines. It's an island country of Southeast Asia, surrounded by several major bodies of water. The South China Sea to the west, the Pacific Ocean to the east, the Sulu and Celebes Sea to the south, and the Bashi Channel to the north. Geographically, the Philippines is made up of 3 major island groups. Luzon is located in the north, Visayas in the middle, and the Mindanao in the south. The country is also known for its dramatic natural features, including Mount Pinatubo, one of its most famous volcanoes, and the highest point in the country, Mount Apu. The Philippines is home to major rivers, including the Cagayan River in the north and the Mindanao River in the south, which play a crucial role in the nation's ecosystem and economy.
As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. Umang, unified mobile application for new age governance, marks its 7th anniversary, with 70 million users benefiting from its services. Developed by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology in collaboration with the National E-Governance Division, Umang aims to drive mobile governance in India. It provides a single platform for all Indian citizens to access pan-India e-government services. The Garud Shakti exercise was conducted between India and Indonesia. This exercise enhancing capabilities of forces from both sides to conduct joint military operations to counter terrorism. In addition, the Purvi Prahar exercise was organized by the Indian Army. Purvi Prahar is a high-intensity tri-services exercise aimed at improving the combat effectiveness of the Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force in conducted integrated joint operations in challenging mountainous terrains. Recently, farmers in Haryana and Punjab have faced a shortage of the fertilizer diammonium phosphate, or DAP. Diammonium phosphate is made from high concentrations of 2 essential macronutrients, phosphate and nitrogen, essential for plant growth. It is the world's most commonly used fertilizer as it is high soluble and gets quickly dissolved into the soil. The Union Environment Ministry has notified Water, Prevention and Control of Pollution, manner of holding inquiry and imposition of penalty rules 2024. These rules come in the backdrop of amendments wherein offences and violations of the Act were decriminalized, replacing them with penalties. Recently, some experts have suggested that boring billion wasn't really the dullest period in Earth's history. The boring billion refers to a period between 1.8 billion and 800 million years ago in Earth's history. It represents geobiological stasis, with a delay in the evolution of complex life, primarily due to low levels of oxygen in the atmosphere. Central Consumer Protection Authority, or CCPA, has issued guidelines for prevention of misleading advertisements in the coaching sector. Key guidelines include an explicit prohibition on coaching centers from making false claims, presenting misleading representations of quality and creation of false urgency, such as limited seats or exaggerated demand, etc. Recently, mealworm larva has been discovered in Kenya. Mealworm larva is a plastic-eating insect and hosts bacteria in their guts that help break down the material. It is mostly found in poultry rearing houses, which are warm and can offer a constant food supply. It is the first African native insect species identified with this ability, but can be found outside Africa as well. During the International Conference on Communication and Dissemination of Traditional Knowledge, significance of scientifically validated societal traditional knowledge or SWASTIK initiative was highlighted. SWASTIK is coordinated by CSIR, NISCPR or National Institute of Science, Communication and Policy Research. Its objective is to preserve traditional practices, promote scientific validation of traditions, and instill confidence in their scientific value. Before we sign off, let's challenge your understanding in today's installment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this episode of News Today engaging. For the solutions to the quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, remember to visit the provided links in the description below.